Hello everyone and welcome to this week's podcast brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. You can probably hear the hustle and bustle around us, and that's because we're at the National Ploughing Championships in the Organic Village tent, and I'm delighted to say that Vincent Cleary, the Managing Director of Glenisk, is here in front of me. So Vincent, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Hannah, and thanks for coming here to the Organic Tent and the Organic Village and to our little stand here at Glenisk.
Well, I have to say, it might seem like a little stand, but Glenisk is such a popular brand, and in terms of organics, it's really put organics on the map as well. I mean, every supermarket that you go into, there is usually Glenisk yogurt for sale and other products as well. So, what kind of has been the secret to that success?
Well, where do I start? Back in the 94, myself and my brothers took over the running of the company, and we were up until then a one farm supply. It was my father's farm had been supplying the small milk bottling plant and small yogurt facility with the family farm milk, and my father passed away in 95 and we took over the running of the business. And I felt it was important. I had lived in Germany for 7 years prior to that, and I saw what organics was doing in Germany. Unknown brands were coming to the fore. So there was a movement taking hold on the continent, and I felt that Ireland was ripe for such innovation. So we were able to find 3 organic farmers down in South Tipperary, Pat Mulrooney being one of them, and we convinced Pat and the other farmers to start supplying us with organic milk. I'm thinking that was around 96, 97, and as you can see, blue is our background colour, and that was important. If I fast forward to 2007, we were in discussions with what was then an American company called Stonyfield, coming on as a minority shareholder. They were subsequently taken over by Group Danone, who have just departed our business. But Stonyfield were impressing upon us focus groups, consumer focus groups. So we had a series of focus groups in Dublin, and one customer iconically said, sticked with me to my dying days, that if she walks into either a Tesco or a Don's and she couldn't see the iconic blue Glenisk pot when she walked in the door, she said she would turn around and walk out.
That's amazing.
And that amazed the Americans as well. So blue has become our hallmark colour. And we've stuck with it ever since.
And do you think you kind of give customers that feeling that it's not just organic, but it's clean, it's kind of a pure product? That's important as well.
Board Bia will tell us we do that. Organic generally scores relatively lowly amongst the priorities that our customers have in purchasing our product. However, I feel it's part of who we are now, and we've become, dare I say, famous for. So it'll always be an integral part of our business, organic. I believe in the agriculture. I believe in clean food. And I believe, my father's philosophy was pretty straightforward insofar as he kept it simple. He wanted to make what he termed as the best possible product and give it to consumers for the best possible price. And I'd like to think we've kept that through the ages. Now, okay, we will discuss pricing to farmers and whatever, but we feel it's important that price shouldn't be a barrier for customers to have a good product.
Can you give us a sense of scale of where Glenisk products are going?
Well, we're still recovering from next Wednesday, the 27th of September, is our 2nd anniversary of our darkest day in our history, where we lost our business.
And that was the fire for people who don't realize.
Yeah. Yes, and in its totality, it took everything from not only did it take our manufacturing unit, it took our offices which were attached to the building, it took all of our packaging. So we were left basically with nothing. I wouldn't even say a clean slate, it was just completely gone. So we're still recovering. Uh, Fortunately, we're up to about 75% level of where we were pre-fire, so we still have a bit to go. We're still waiting on equipment, and we're still extending our product range as well. So where Glenisk is going. Before the fire, I would have been very bullish about Glenisk's future. I somewhat lost that over the intervening 2 years. However, as we're regaining our market share, as we're just within touching distance of being once again the number one yogurt in Ireland, I'm becoming bullish again. I think we will not look beyond organics as a future. Like what inspired me back in the early 90s or mid 90s was that I felt that Ireland was perfectly placed to supply Europe with premium food, premium clean food. And I believe that that's a box that only organic takes.
And you mentioned Germany as well, and something interesting about Germany, it has organic only stores. So, but I guess in recent times there's been this discussion about the hunger for organics from the German consumer, and that potentially their incomes have dipped, so they're not as hungry for it. Is that the case?
We were at a trade show, BioFact, earlier in the year, and we met with the German retailers, and they were saying, because they were afraid, they had an energy crisis last year. Now we still have this energy crisis going on, but it was even more, shall we say, because of Germany's proximity to Ukraine. They were afraid of Putin pressing the nuclear option. They're still fearful of that. When I had met them in February, March at BioFact, and I was saying, yeah, but you have gas again, you're sourcing from other sources. The energy problem is being resolved, and they say yes, but what about next winter? So they're having lived in Germany, the Germans can be quite, how would I say, they can be susceptible to bad news, and it plays on the German. I guess they have such a checkered history that bad news, they're never too far away from bad news, or that's what their fear and apprehension is. I don't think they have the confidence to a certain extent, whether it's false bravado that the Irish have, but they're not as confident as a nation as I suspect we would be.
Because you had a 100% grass-fed brand of yogurt going into the German market. Is that still happening?
We had 10 farmers in a trial period. Excuse me. We still have those farmers. I still think it's important. We had just launched a matter of weeks before the fire, and when I spoke to our largest customer in Germany and explained that we had lost our factory completely and we'd have to suspend until further notice, I was expecting to go, another Irish guy who's not taking his business seriously. But they said, listen, once you find your own feet, come back to us and we'll be ready for you. So we haven't relaunched. We're looking towards 24. Early 2024 to relaunch again. I'm still, as even Aldi told us, they said the concept was before its time, and I read recently that last week, I think it was, where the German retailers now are telling their farmers that they want only grass-fed products by 2030. So I believe that 100% grass-fed, I don't do half measures, and I believe it's the way to go. I think the cow needs to be suited to the regime, and I know some of our farmers are doing work there. So, but I see a future for that as a low cost. Yes, volumes will be hit, but I think that there is a premium. We have been paying a premium for the last number of years. We'll continue to pay that because I believe in the system.
Would it ever be possible to have grass-fed in Ireland? Because of course the Germans, if anyone going into a German supermarket, it's quite good fun actually, looking at all the different varieties of milk that they have, and hay milk and all these kind of things. They are very technical about it, but our Irish consumers, they seem to automatically assume that everything is grass-fed in Ireland already, because I think the stipulation is just over 90% grass, and the rest could be meal coming from anywhere in the world. So would it ever be a runner in Ireland having grass-fed?
Ultimately, I mean, everything is down to critical mass. Germany offers us, even as a niche player in such a large market as Germany, it gives us an opportunity to be commercially successful. We started out as a niche player in this market in Ireland. Ireland has been good to us over the intervening 20, 30 years. But to bring out something as specific, it's a niche within a niche within a niche. And so my fear is, I think initially we'll make it successful elsewhere, and then we'll bring it home once we have the critical mass of the supply, because then farmers won't cut it in any market. But we'll be selective in what markets we target initially, and we're going to Paris next month for a trade exhibition, and I'm hoping to introduce it to Parisians. And yes, we would hope to speak to a small supermarket group, someone on the scale of Monoprix or someone like that, upmarket, that they would have the clientele. Plus there's a seasonality element that I'm not quite sure if Irish consumers, although they forgave us when we were off the shelves for 6+ months just after the fire, I think a seasonal product in a product specifically like yogurt, I'm not quite sure. It would take a hell of a lot of explaining.
When you go to those shows in Paris and you talked a lot about the consumer and the consumer's idea of Glenisk, I see carbon neutral on your packaging a lot of the time. Is that an important element of what you sell to the consumer?
It is. Absolutely. I think, although we may be selling a concept that is not yet developed, but we felt it was important, particularly after the fire. We had polystyrene packaging that burned for 10 days after the fire. And Emma, who looks after our commercial end of things, came to me. She was getting hammered by a customer who was saying, how can you be organic in plastic packaging? And she asked me then, because we had plans to phase out polystyrene and all plastics, all fossil fuels from our packaging, she asked me, when were we planning? And I said, well, those machines aren't cheap to replace. So I said, give it 5 years. Then the fire came 6 months later. In that respect, it was a clean slate. We said whatever we would do it in a carbon-friendly, or as carbon-friendly as possible manner. So we're trying to make the effort now. We were hit by a double whammy because there was actually a paper shortage in Europe last year because of the whole Ukraine thing. So we're suffering for our piety, as it were, but we will persevere, and I think it definitely is the future. But as I was saying, where we like to be the first out of the blocks when it comes to, dare I say, old-fashioned innovation. I believe what we did in the past has merit to what we should be doing in the future. And I think it was a lot of practices that we did, and even agriculture, because a lot of people will say organic farming, oh, it's not like farming of 50 years ago. Technically, yes, because they didn't have the inputs, but there's a lot of modern twists, as you well know as well.
Thinking about the farmers involved, there are 17,500 dairy farmers in Ireland who are conventional dairy farmers. Only around 60 organic dairy farmers in the country, and even a lot of them are retiring or thinking about retiring with the dairy exit scheme that's due to come on track potentially next year. Does that make you worry that you won't have enough organic farmers to meet supply?
No, I think conventional farming, this whole nitrates debacle that's going on at the moment, I think there's a lot of things coming down the line that will influence farmers' decisions into the future. The majority of new entrants into organics that we've had were farmers who were exiting suckler farming and getting into dairy. Now, because they don't have a history of milk production, we say, well, listen, if you're going to go organic and start milking cows, why don't you be a little bit more, push the boat out a little more? And so we try to encourage them to go into grass production. And other, so it gives us an opportunity to influence farmers, because I believe organics is a ways and means for farmers to make their own landholding that bit more viable. So, and it's on trend, and it will always be on trend.
In terms of milk price, you obviously have a summer price and there's a winter price as well for winter milk producers, and we're going into the winter now. Do the winter producers, do they know what they're going to get?
they would have a fair idea.
It's around this upwards of 60 cents, I think. I've been given to believe.
It's higher. It'll be higher. And so what
So
we're
I think
trying to
last
balance.
year it was 70 cents per litre.
It was. Last year was an exceptional year for conventional farmers as well. And we found ourselves competing against the local co-ops. Now, there was always a healthy gap between organic prices and conventional milk. But where we are here and now, we're 20% of where we were pre all of these latest trends. We're 30% and rising over conventional prices. So, what we're trying to do is balance. We're still trying to be a commercial entity ourselves. So we have financial commitments ourselves. We're still keeping an eye on the future. So needless to say, we're not trying to frighten away farmers from organic farming, but we're also attempting to protect the Irish consumer as well. So the easiest thing for us to do would be to go in and follow suit and jack up our prices. But we know the higher we push up our prices, the more we will alienate our customer. So it's a fragile sector insofar as we're encouraging the growth from a consumer pickup perspective and an international audience as well. And we're trying to measure that with as fair a price as possible. And fairness comes into play. We can't be held, and farmers can't be held ransom by, grain growers from wherever they are.
That is part of the issue, though. I don't know if you saw the article by Peter Hines in the Farming Independent, why I would not become an organic dairy farmer. And part of his reasoning was the cost of organic meal. And for farmers out there looking at organic meal at the minute, it's at least €650 a tonne. I mean, that's nearly double conventional.
Yeah,
and if you're a winter milk producer, you kind of have to feed the meal.
I accept. We have deliberately stayed away from the input end of things, farming. Whether we like it or not, within 5 years, and this isn't a plan nor an announcement, this is just our thinking, we see ourselves getting sucked into that sector, if only to help. We've one exceptional farmer, in my opinion, JJ Hearn down in Cork. JJ is bringing in dried lucerne from France because he wasn't going to be held ransom to global organic feed markets. We need that creativity. A lot of organic farming, the principles were found on self-sufficiency. Now, we don't expect farmers who have no idea about tillage, about getting involved, but I think they need to start thinking outside the box. Paying €950 a tonne for concentrates, in my opinion, is wrong. I think as we have to be creative as a brand, we don't have the budgets that are international. We've never had the budget our international competitors have had. But at the same time, so we've had to be creative, and I believe farmers need to go back to that creativity that they've all had, and and we, as I say, in due course, I see us. If somebody doesn't fill what I would see as a void, we'll have to step into that space in due course.
I imagine you work very closely as well with the Department of Agriculture in some respects, and they're getting this feedback as well from you and from farmers about animal feed, organic animal feed, based in Ireland in particular.
Yeah, it's the single biggest Achilles heel that organic has at the moment. And I don't blame the local meal merchants because they're just passing on the prices that from where they source their product on a global basis, I suspect. So, but it's just, somebody has to say stop. And if by saying stop, you have to come up with a plan B. So I've no doubt there will be a plan B formulated. And whether we like it or not, we'll probably get pulled into that sphere as well.
The organic scheme is expected to open again shortly enough, and will you be hoping for more organic dairy farmers, and can you take them on if they do come online?
Well, I've been hearing this for the last 30 years.
We've all been hearing this, yeah.
And I've yet to see the stampede of farmers into organic. The numbers that have always come in have suited us. Yes, we are short milk at the moment. We are actively looking for more farmers, and so we'll welcome any number of farmers. And I know others will as well. So I think, people saying there's no market for organics, I mean, I've been hearing again that for 30 years. There's always a market. The market has a been. And I think we're just, whilst I lived in Germany 35 years ago, I was a big fan of Kerrygold. So I'm waiting for a Kerrygold organic butter to finally hit the market.
That'd be brilliant. Vincent, thank you very much for that. And for everyone listening, you've been listening to Organic Matters, brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. And for more information on organics, you can visit www.irishorganicassociation.ie. Vincent, Glenisk has a website as well. Where should people go to check out your website?
www.glenisk.com.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. And for everyone listening, thank you.